Watson and Rayner, controversial study. Poor little Albert, hope he was okay eventually. Okay, so welcome back to Watson and Rayner. This is a very brief video. What I want to do on this one is just take you through the evaluation summary sheet that I've posted to help you look and just have a think about what I want you to do with this so that it can help you with your essay writing. Just going to share my screen, share my desktop, share that. Get rid of that one. It was a Word document. There it is. Okay, so this is the one I've shared with you. I just really want you to think about how you would use this. So you've got you've got a lesson to do this in. It might take a little bit longer, but this will double as a really effective bit of revision, either for a test that we do soon or your exam in the end. Okay, so as it says in the spec, you need to be able to evaluate the methodology and procedure of Watson Rayner. So you need to say whether you think what they did was done well, whether they followed proper scientific procedures, what there are any problems with their methodology and procedures. Evaluate the findings and conclusions. Can we believe them? Do we accept them? Are there any problems with them? And you also need to be able to evaluate ethical issues connected with the study. And if you've watched the video of little Albert going through his conditioning, you might have thought, oh, there are a couple of ethical issues here. Like I say, it is an incredibly controversial study. So in the box, I want you to do the following things, really. And you can use your textbook, and you can use the PowerPoint that you've been provided with too. So really, it's a matter of having a view. If you look down this first column here, we're looking at methodology and procedures. Now, what I want to provide you with is, if you were giving an evaluation question about those, you'd have at least one positive thing to say about the study. In fact, it was very well controlled, and the standardized procedures were fairly well detailed. So if anyone was inclined and really did want to replicate it, they'd be able to do that. Okay. You might ask yourself about about how unnatural the situation is, and whether it's got ecological validity, and that would be a negative point. We'd then be looking at the sample. The sample is obviously very small. It's just little Albert himself. So you want to be asking yourself questions about whether you can draw any conclusions from that one person. And there's lots of ideas that you can have there about whether Albert was really suitable and whether you can generalize anything from Albert's behavior. Okay, so if you were doing that as part of a big essay, that would be you would come to a mini conclusion as a result of those. But so you need to come to a balanced view at the end of that first column about whether you think the methodology and procedures were good and were good enough for us to accept the research as valid. Another way we can look at the research is to actually think about alternative evidence and alternative ideas. So we got an idea that if it was just simply to do with classical conditioning, then a conditioned fear like Albert had should fade over time. So then you can talk about and if that's the case, then that wouldn't be a great that wouldn't really support Watson and Rayner particularly well. There's also this idea of the two-process theory, that there must be more. Generally speaking, if we classically condition dogs, to salivate to a bell, if we stop providing food after the bell, in the end, that conditioning disappears. So the same idea should happen as far as Albert's fear or a fear of or a phobia. It should just disappear. So there must be more going on than simply classical conditioning. And the two-process theory, as you'll see in your textbook, also suggests that operant conditioning is involved. Another problem with explaining fear in this way is that learning is not the only idea. We've got this idea of biological preparedness that Seligman comes up with, and that's the idea that we've inherited genes that make us afraid of some animals and some creatures and not others. So everyone is probably biologically programmed to be more afraid of a rat or a snake or a spider than of a flower or a vegetable. Okay, so again, you need to come to a mini conclusion at the bottom of that one. Then we're looking at ethical issues, that final column, whether it's ethical to actually create fear in anyone as a underlying principle. More psychological harm was done to Albert, and you can have a look at those kind of things. We might want to focus possibly on the idea that when he was trying to suck his thumb to comfort himself, they were wrenching his thumb out of his mouth. There's an ethical issue of confidentiality and how identifiable Albert is. And there's been quite a lot of historical research trying to find out exactly who Albert was. And there were problems with that. And again, you need to come up with a conclusion as a result of that. So you need to have conclusions about whether I think the thing, whether the research was ethical or not, a conclusion about whether it stands up against alternative evidence, and you need to have a conclusion about whether the procedures and methodology allow us to accept this research and say that it's valid and generalizable. Okay, I hope that helps. Give me an email if you've got any questions.